49 people had one job. Don't remove yourself from the gene pool. They failed spectacularly, and we filmed the highlights. We've got a guy who thought riding an alligator at a roadside zoo was a totally normal TikTok flex. A woman who deep-fried an entire turkey, still wearing its plastic jacket like a weird culinary crime, and one absolute legend who got humbled in a wrestling match against a vending machine and lost. Evolution tried its best, and these 49 people said, "Not today, science. Subscribe right now." Because somehow, watching these disasters still makes you the smartest person in the room. 1. There is a special kind of confidence that only a man holding a chainsaw near his own face can possess. Somewhere in the great American backyard, a fellow decided his beard trimmer was for cowards and grabbed the chainsaw instead. Power tools and personal grooming have never been friends. Yet he revved it up like a barber in a horror movie. 14 stitches later, the emergency room staff could barely keep their faces straight. His buddies blessed him with a brand new nickname he will never escape, because facial hair grows back. But a legend like that lives forever. 2. Marketing departments spend millions printing the word waterproof on a box, and one curious soul decided to test that promise the scientific way. She tossed her brand new phone into a backyard pool to watch it survive like a little electronic submarine. The phone immediately died, which should have ended the experiment right there. Instead, she dove in after it without bothering to check the depth, met the shallow end with her face, and earned a matching pair of regrets. The phone was not waterproof. Her dignity, sadly, was not shatterproof either, and both sank straight to the bottom. 3. Pumping gas is one of the few places where the universe quietly begs people to behave themselves, and yet a certain gentleman decided the rules did not apply to him. He lit a cigarette right there at the pump because waiting 2 minutes felt like a personal insult. Physics, being undefeated, immediately reminded him who runs the show. A small fireball jumped up and politely removed his eyebrows in one clean swoop. He survived, the car survived, and the gas station survived, but his face spent the next month looking permanently surprised at his own life choices. 4. Parallel parking has humbled even the most confident American drivers, but one gentleman took the challenge to a beautiful new low. He decided mirrors were enough, and side windows were just decoration. Then reversed with the calm energy of a man who had never been wrong. Unfortunately, the spot he chose was actually a living room window belonging to a very startled family eating dinner. The couch became a parking bumper, the lamp became modern art, and the homeowner became a witness. He climbed out apologizing while the cat watched him like he owed it rent. 5. Microwaves and sealed metal cans have a long and explosive history of disagreement, which one woman discovered the hard way. She popped an unopened can of soup into the microwave because dirtying a bowl felt like too much commitment for a Tuesday. The microwave hummed for about 40 seconds before the kitchen turned into a tomato-themed crime scene. Soup hit the ceiling, the cabinets, and a framed photo of her grandmother who certainly did not raise her like this. The can survived, weirdly enough, but the microwave gave its life so that lazy dinners could live on. 6. Impressing a date usually involves charm, maybe a nice restaurant, perhaps remembering to listen. One ambitious gentleman skipped all that and decided opening a beer bottle with his teeth was the move. The bottle opened. So did his gum line. A tooth bounced across the table like a tiny white casino chip, while his date sat there reconsidering every choice that led her to this booth. Without missing a beat, he kept drinking the beer, blood and all, like nothing had happened. She did not text him back, but the dental hygienist sure did months later. 7. National parks put up signs for a reason, and that reason is usually a 2,000-pound animal that does not negotiate. Yet one brave soul looked at a wild bison, saw a giant friendly cow, and hopped the fence for a quick pet. The bison turned its head slowly like a furry boulder deciding whether to file a complaint, then launched him into the air with one casual flick. He landed somewhere near the gift shop with bruises shaped like regret. Tourists clapped. Rangers sighed. The bison went back to eating grass like absolutely nothing happened. 8. Job interviews demand a polished look, and most people reach for a hairdryer or a brush. One woman, running late and bursting with confidence, decided a leaf blower would do the trick faster. She fired it up in the driveway and aimed it directly at her head, like she was auditioning for a hurricane documentary. Her hair achieved a shape no salon could ever recreate, somewhere between electrocuted scarecrow and angry lion. She walked into the interview looking windswept by a tornado that had personal beef with her. The hiring manager did not call back. The leaf blower remained undefeated. 9. There is a moment in every American kitchen when a new knife arrives and someone has to test the sharpness. One curious fellow chose the absolute worst method available, which was running his thumb directly across the blade. It was sharp. He confirmed this in the most painful way possible, then, like a true scientist, ran his thumb across it a second time just to be sure. The knife passed both trials with flying colors, mostly red. He drove himself to urgent care, narrating the entire experiment, while the receptionist quietly added him to a Hall of Fame. 10. Pranks require a clear plan, an exit strategy, and ideally not falling asleep mid-mission. One gentleman crouched in his roommate's closet to deliver the perfect jump scare and somehow drifted off between the hoodies. His roommate came home, found the apartment empty, and assumed the worst. Police were called, posters were printed, and a missing person report was filed by the next afternoon. Hours later, he stumbled out of the closet asking what was for dinner, completely unaware he had become a local mystery. The roommate considered punching him, then settled for never trusting him again. 11. 2 in the morning is the hour when human judgment quietly clocks out and chaos clocks in. One ambitious woman decided this was the perfect time to give herself a homemade tattoo, using nothing but a sewing needle and the ink from a chewed-up ballpoint pen. The design started as a cute little heart and slowly evolved into something resembling a confused potato. Her arm swelled, the ink smeared, and the bathroom mirror witnessed crimes against art itself. By sunrise, she had a permanent reminder that craft hour and common sense should never share a calendar. 12. Cell towers exist to send signals, not to host photo shoots, but that minor detail did not concern one determined climber. He scaled the entire structure for a selfie, because the view from regular ground apparently was not dramatic enough for his feed. Wind howled, metal creaked, and somewhere below a very tired firefighter started putting on his boots. The photo did get taken, and it looked great until the rescue helicopter showed up. He came down famous, fined, and slightly less excited about heights. The likes were nice, but the court date hit a lot harder. 13. Escalators are designed for two things, standing and walking, and a skateboard fits into exactly neither category. One gentleman ignored that small detail at the mall and rode his board down the moving stairs while holding a big gulp in one hand and his car keys in the other. Physics waited about 3 seconds before introducing itself. The drink exploded upward, the keys vanished into the void, and his body found gravity in a brand new and humiliating way. Shoppers gasped, security ran, and the escalator kept moving like nothing interesting had even happened. 14. Cleaning products come with warning labels, for the same reason stoves come with knobs, and one woman decided to ignore both. She mixed bleach and ammonia in her bathroom because she figured double the chemicals meant double the clean. The resulting cloud was not extra fresh, it was actual poison gas, and her lungs filed an immediate complaint. She stumbled out of the house coughing like a cartoon villain, while her cat gave her a look usually reserved for traitors. The tub did sparkle eventually, but only after a hazmat crew finished the job she started. 15. There was a brief and embarrassing chapter in American internet history when people decided laundry pods looked delicious. One brave man took the bait, accepted the dare from his 19-year-old cousin, and bit into a Tide Pod for the camera. The flavor of regret hit instantly, followed by foam, panic, and the slow realization that detergent was never meant for the human mouth. The clout lasted about 6 hours. The stomach pump lasted considerably longer. His cousin uploaded the video, laughed for a week, and got grounded by an aunt who watched the whole thing. 16. Wasps are nature's tiny flying lawyers, and they do not enjoy being served paperwork in the form of rocks. One gentleman discovered this universal truth by chucking stones at a nest while filming from roughly 2 feet away. The first throw connected, the second throw never happened. A buzzing brown cloud erupted from the nest with the speed of a vengeful jury, and he sprinted across the yard, screaming words his grandmother would not approve of. The footage went viral, the welts went tropical, and the wasps went home to write a strongly worded review of his face. 17. GPS systems are confident little machines that occasionally suggest driving directly into water, and one woman trusted hers a little too far. The road ahead was flooded enough to host bass fishing tournaments, yet the screen insisted it was the fastest route. She drove right in. The car coughed once, sighed, and floated away like a sad metal duck while she climbed out the window onto the roof. A passing farmer rescued her with a tractor and a healthy dose of judgment. The GPS, completely unbothered, calmly suggested a U-turn from underwater. 18. Power drills are wonderful tools when used correctly, which is a sentence one gentleman clearly had never heard. He attached a mixing paddle to his drill, dropped it into an open paint can without the lid, and squeezed the trigger like he was starting a race. The paint achieved liftoff in every direction at once and redecorated the garage in a bold splatter pattern. His face became a Jackson Pollock tribute. His truck got a fresh new color it never asked for. The paint can spun in place laughing while he stood there blinking through pastel eyelashes. 19. There are very few words in the English language more dangerous than the phrase "I am invincible," especially when it is sent by text right before something truly dumb. One young man fired off that exact message to his friends, then attempted to jump his bicycle over a slowly moving car like a backyard stunt legend. The bike cleared the hood. He did not. Gravity collected its debt with interest, while the car rolled on completely unaware. His friends received the text, then the video, then the hospital photo. The invincibility lasted exactly 4.2 seconds. 20. Gas grills make a clicking noise for a reason, and that reason is keeping human faces at a safe distance from sudden flame. One woman decided the click was taking too long and leaned directly over the grill to investigate the situation up close. The grill chose that exact moment to remember its job. A whoosh of fire jumped up and gave her a free eyebrow removal, along with bangs she did not request. The burgers were delicious. The selfie afterward was not. She spent the rest of summer explaining the bangs to absolutely everyone she met. 21. Footwear matters in life, especially when the task at hand involves angry stinging insects and a swinging weapon. One gentleman decided to remove a wasp nest from his porch using a baseball bat while wearing flip-flops, which is the home defense equivalent of bringing a spoon to a sword fight. The first swing connected. The second swing never happened. A furious cloud of wasps poured out and chased him across the yard, while his flip-flops flapped uselessly behind him. He survived mostly, but spent the rest of the week looking like a swollen cartoon character. 22. Ovens are for cooking food, not for storing items that explode under heat, which is a rule one man somehow missed entirely. He stashed his 4th of July fireworks inside the oven for safekeeping, then completely forgot about them by pizza night. He preheated the oven to 400 and walked away whistling. Roughly 11 minutes later, the kitchen turned into a patriotic light show with sound effects the neighbors could feel in their chests. The pizza never made it in. The oven never made it back. The fire department arrived clapping slowly and shaking their heads. 23. Hairspray and open flames have a chemistry so well documented that even cartoons warn against it. Yet one woman tested the theory live in her bathroom. She kept spraying her curls while a candle burned cheerfully on the counter beside her. The mist drifted toward the flame like a moth with bad intentions. A small fireball jumped up, kissed her bangs, and removed them in a single dramatic flash, Her curls held beautifully, ironically, but the front of her hair now ended somewhere around her forehead. She finished her makeup pretending nothing had happened. 24. Parking garages were not designed as skate parks, but one fearless gentleman saw a ramp and a shopping cart and connected the dots with reckless joy. He hopped inside the cart, kicked off down the ramp, and started filming himself for Vine glory like the year was still 2014. The cart hit cruising speed almost instantly, wobbled like a drunk shopping list, and launched him into a concrete pillar that did not flinch. The phone kept recording from the ground. He limped away laughing through tears, swearing the footage was definitely worth it. 25. Hurricanes are nature's way of telling everyone to stay inside, sit down, and reconsider their decisions. One man heard the warnings, looked at the sky, and decided his roof would offer a much better viewing experience. He climbed up with a beer in one hand and pure confidence in the other. The wind picked him up like a wet napkin and flung him across the yard into a hedge that probably saved his life. Neighbors watched from their windows in horror and admiration. He stood up, brushed himself off, and admitted the storm had a point. 26. Pet owners love their animals deeply, but love and pharmacology do not always mix in safe ways. One woman noticed her dog sneezing and decided her own allergy medication would do the trick because if it worked for her, it would surely work for him. The dog accepted the pill politely, then spent the next 6 hours zooming through the house like a furry little tornado on espresso. The vet was not impressed. The carpet was not thrilled. The dog somehow became a local legend at the dog park for surviving Tuesday at warp speed. 27. Nail guns are powerful tools that drive metal through wood at terrifying speeds, which is exactly why nobody should hold the target against their own chest. One man missed that memo entirely and pressed a picture frame to his shirt while operating the nail gun with the other hand. The nail went through the frame, through the shirt, and into territory that absolutely should have stayed nail-free. The picture hung crooked. He went to the emergency room. The doctors took an X-ray they will reference at every Christmas party for the rest of their careers. 28. Field sobriety tests usually involve walking a straight line, not auditioning for the circus. But one ambitious gentleman wanted to prove a point. He claimed he was completely sober and offered to demonstrate by reciting the alphabet backward while riding a unicycle down a small hill. The officer blinked twice and let him try, mostly out of pure curiosity. He made it to the letter Q before everything went sideways, including him. The unicycle rolled away on its own adventure. The officer wrote the ticket while quietly laughing into his shoulder radio. 29. Thanksgiving is a sacred American holiday with one golden rule, which is that frozen turkeys and hot oil should never meet without a long conversation first. One woman skipped that step and dropped a fully frozen turkey, still wrapped in plastic, directly into a deep fryer. The oil reacted like it had been personally insulted. A column of flame shot 10 feet into the air and turned her back patio into an unscheduled Viking funeral. The turkey survived in pieces, the patio did not. The fire department brought their own gravy jokes for the rest of the night. 30. Frozen ponds look solid, peaceful, and ready for adventure, which is exactly the trap nature sets every winter. One man stared at his lawnmower, stared at the pond, and connected dots no reasonable person ever should. He rode the mower right onto the ice to test whether it would hold. The ice considered the offer for about 4 seconds before voting no. Mower and man sank together into freezing water while a single mitten floated dramatically away. He climbed out alive, soaked, and humbled. The mower stayed down there permanently as a warning to all future geniuses. 31. Weddings are emotional events filled with love, dancing, and the occasional groomsman making catastrophic choices. One enthusiastic gentleman spotted the grand staircase, eyed the polished banister, and decided sliding down it would be the highlight of the reception. He launched off with the confidence of a man who had never failed at anything except this exact moment. The landing missed by several feet and connected directly with the cake table. 3 tiers of buttercream exploded across the dance floor, while the bride screamed words usually reserved for sailors. He apologized through frosting. The wedding video became family gold forever. 32. Space heaters come with instructions written in giant red letters, warning against enclosed spaces, which one woman generously ignored. She tossed her wet sneakers into the closet, plugged in the heater right beside them, shut the door, and went to bed feeling clever. The closet got warm, then hot, then enthusiastic. By 2 in the morning, the smoke detector was screaming and her bedroom was glowing orange. She escaped in pajamas while the fire department arrived to a scene of melted shoes and crispy hangers. The sneakers did dry, technically, just along with everything else. 33. First dates often involve nerves, awkward laughter, and the urge to impress through dumb stunts. One gentleman picked up his Tinder match, parked at a lookout point, and decided to greet her with a backflip off his truck's tailgate. He had never actually landed one before, which became obvious about halfway through the rotation. He hit the gravel with the grace of a dropped microwave. She got out, helped him up, and quietly drove him to urgent care in his own truck. They never went out again, but she still tells the story at parties. 34. Electricity and bathwater have a long-standing agreement to never share a room, which one young man casually betrayed. He wanted to scroll his phone while soaking, and his charger barely reached the tub, so he made it work through pure determination. The phone slipped exactly once. The shock launched him out of the water like a salmon catching a current and onto the bathroom tile with a confused yelp. He survived because the breaker tripped just in time. The phone did not. He now charges it in the kitchen like a properly humbled adult. 35. School zones come with flashing lights, painted crosswalks, and tiny humans who do not yet understand cars. One distracted woman drove right through one while typing a text, then dropped her phone between the seats and reached down to retrieve it at exactly the wrong moment. The car drifted, jumped a curb, and parked itself in the school sign that read, "Slow children at play." The irony was thicker than the smoke from her hood. Nobody was hurt, thankfully, but the principal walked out, holding the broken sign like an exhibit at a trial. 36. Campfires require patience, kindling, and the firm refusal to involve gasoline, which is a lesson one gentleman had clearly skipped. He stood directly over a struggling fire and poured gas straight from the can to speed things up. The fire accepted the offering enthusiastically and climbed the stream right back into the can. A fireball erupted upward and gave him an instant facelift along with a brand new hairstyle. He survived, mostly eyebrow-free, and spent the rest of the camping trip explaining to everyone that yes, he already knew what he had done wrong. 37. Roadside zoos are home to questionable enclosures and even more questionable visitor decisions. One ambitious gentleman climbed into a pen, sat down on an alligator like it was a leather couch, and started filming a TikTok he was certain would change his life. The alligator agreed it would, just not in the way he hoped. It rolled once and reminded him that prehistoric reptiles do not consent to content creation. He escaped with a bitten leg, a destroyed phone, and a ban from the property. The video did go viral, though, just from the security footage. 38. Hair tools come with helpful little indicator lights for a reason, and that reason is to keep human tongues at a safe distance. One woman ignored the light entirely and decided to test her straightener by quickly tapping it with her tongue. The verdict came in immediately, accompanied by a sound no human throat should make. Her taste buds filed for emancipation that same afternoon. For 3 days she could not taste coffee, soup, or her own regret. The straightener was hot. The lesson was hotter. The flavor of toothpaste never quite came back the same. 39. Trailer hitches exist because boats are heavy and highways are unforgiving, which is a fact one creative gentleman thought he could outsmart. He attached his boat to his pickup using nothing but bungee cords and rolled onto the interstate at 60 miles an hour. The bungees held for exactly 4 miles before snapping with a noise like cosmic disappointment. The boat launched off the trailer, sailed across 2 lanes and came to rest in a cornfield as if it had always lived there. Traffic stopped. Cameras came out. The farmer charged him rent on the spot, 40. Bees take their hive defense very seriously and do not accept apologies once the chase begins. One gentleman discovered a swarm coming for him in a parking lot and made a snap decision to dive into his friend's convertible, which was parked nearby with the top fully down. He landed gracefully in the back seat right alongside the entire swarm, which had also accepted the invitation. The convertible became a screaming, buzzing box of regret. His friend abandoned the car mid-sentence. The bees eventually left on their own schedule, having made several new and lasting points. 41. Brakes are the one part of a car that nobody should ever fix with craft supplies, but one determined woman thought otherwise. She watched a midnight YouTube tutorial, grabbed a roll of duct tape, and patched her brake line like she was wrapping a Christmas present. The first stop sign came up fast. The brakes responded with a polite suggestion rather than an actual stop. Her car cruised through the intersection, glided into a hedge, and parked itself in someone's begonias. The duct tape held beautifully. The brakes did not. She now lets professionals handle anything involving metal and momentum. 42. Ghost peppers are not food, they are a dare with a face, which one gentleman learned in the most painful way possible. He swallowed a whole one on a bet at a backyard cookout and immediately regretted every choice that led him there. Sweat poured, vision blurred, and survival instincts took over. In a moment of pure genius, he rubbed his eyes with the same hand that had just handled the pepper. The screaming reached 3 counties. His friends laughed for a week. He drank an entire gallon of milk and still claimed it was worth the $20. 43. Backyard trampolines are responsible for more emergency room visits than most household appliances combined. One ambitious gentleman decided his trampoline had untapped potential as a launch pad, so he tried to bounce himself clean over his backyard fence just for fun. He cleared the fence beautifully and stuck the landing into his neighbor's koi pond, which was significantly shallower than expected. Fish scattered, water flew, and the neighbor came out holding a coffee mug with deep questions in his eyes. The trampoline kept bouncing innocently behind him while he climbed out, covered in pond weeds and apologies. 44. Propane tanks belong in garages, garden sheds, or basically anywhere that is not a glass-walled sunroom in direct afternoon sunlight. One woman stored her loaded tank right next to her wicker furniture because she liked having it close for grilling season. The summer heat turned the room into a slow cooker with explosive potential. Neighbors noticed before she did and called the fire department in pure panic. They evacuated the block, moved the tank carefully, and gave her a lecture she will remember forever. The sunroom survived. Her reputation on the cul-de-sac did not. 45. Boats move faster than most people realize, and items dropped into the water rarely come back. One gentleman wanted to test whether his fancy new fishing knife was the floating kind, so he flung it overboard from a moving boat to find out. The knife sank immediately, which was the answer. Refusing to accept defeat, he dove in after it without warning the captain. The boat kept going. He bobbed in open water, waving while his buddies argued about who would turn around first. The knife was never recovered. His pride sank even deeper than the blade. 46. Leaf blowers are excellent for leaves, terrible for bees, and absolutely catastrophic when aimed at a hive from directly underneath. One gentleman convinced himself this was a brilliant pest control method and fired up the blower while standing right below the buzzing chandelier of doom. The hive exploded outward in a furious cloud while he stood there for one frozen second, realizing his entire plan was upside down. He ran screaming through the yard, with the blower still roaring. The bees pursued with personal interest. His porch is now permanently labeled a no-fly zone, mostly by him. 47. Car batteries deliver enough current to start an engine, which is roughly several thousand times more than any phone politely requests. One curious woman skipped the adapter step entirely, and clipped jumper cables directly from her car battery to her phone charging port because the regular charger was too slow. The phone made a noise no phone should ever make, briefly glowed, and then released a tiny puff of smoke like a magician taking a bow. The battery did not care. The phone became a paperweight. She bought a new one and a much, much longer cable. 48. Lawn mowing is a sacred American chore, but one gentleman decided his motorcycle deserved a shortcut through the living room before he tackled the yard. He revved the engine, rolled through the front door, and crossed the carpet at full speed because walking the bike around the house felt like wasted effort. The tires left 2 black racing stripes across the rug. The coffee table got clipped, and the family dog reached enlightenment instantly. His wife was not amused. The grass remained uncut. The motorcycle, however, made it to the back patio with style. 49. Vending machines are tall, heavy, and completely undefeated in physical combat, which is information one gentleman chose to ignore. The machine ate his dollar and refused to release the chips, so he squared up like a wrestler ready for a championship match. He grabbed it, rocked it, and gave it a flying shoulder check that the machine answered by tipping forward and pinning him to the floor like a snack-flavored anvil. Coworkers found him under it, laughing through tears. The chips did fall out eventually. He just had to wait for the rescue team to lift the champion off him. And there you have it, 49 glorious examples of humans bravely volunteering to thin out the gene pool one terrible decision at a time. Honestly, evolution should be sending these folks thank you cards. If you laughed, snorted, or whispered, "Oh no" out loud even once, smash that like button, subscribe to BrainFumble, and tap the notification bell so you never miss the next collection of human disasters. Share this with that one friend who definitely belongs on the list. Now tell me down in the comments, which of these 49 geniuses do you think deserves the crown for dumbest decision of all time?